If there are any who doubt that our institutions, formed in those days, did not establish a people's government, let them study the action of the Massachusetts Convention, which ratified the federal Constitution in 1788. Presiding over it was popular patriot governor John Hancock. On the floor sat Samuel Adams, who had been the father of the Revolution, preeminent champion of the liberty of the people. Such an influence had he that his assertions of satisfaction was enough to carry the delegates. Like a majority of the members, he came opposed to ratification. Having totally thrown off the authority of foreign power, they came suspicious to all outside authority. Besides, there were 18 members who had taken part in Shays' rebellion. So, hostile were they to the execution of all law. Mr. Adams was finally convinced by a gathering of the working men among his constituents, who exercised their constitutional right instructing their representatives. Their opinion was presented to him by Paul Revere. How many mechanics were at the Green Dragon when these resolutions were passed? Asked Mr. Adams. More, sir, than the Green Dragon could hold. And where were the rest? In the streets, sir. And how many were in the streets? More than there are stars in the sky. This is supposed to have convinced the great Massachusetts Tribune that it was his duty to support ratification. There were those, however, who distrusted the Constitution and distrusted its proponents. They viewed lawyers and men of means as with great jealousy. Amos Singletary expressed their sentiments in the form of an argument that has not ceased to be repeated in the discussion of all public affairs. These lawyers, said he, and men of learning and moneyed men that talk so finely and gloss over matters so smoothly to make us poor illiterates swallow the pill, expect to get into Congress themselves. They mean to be managers of the Constitution. They mean to get all the money into their hands, and then they will swallow up us little folk, like the great Leviathan. Mr. President, yes, like the whale swallowed up Jonah. In the convention sat Jonathan Smith, a farmer from Lanesborough. He had seen Shays' rebellion in Berkshire. There had been no better example of a man of the people desiring the common good. I'm a plain man, said Mr. Smith, and I'm not used to speak in public. But I'm going to show the effects of anarchy, that you may see why I wish for good government. Last winter, people took up arms, and then, if you went to speak with them, you had the musket of death presented to your breast. They would rob you of your property, threaten to burn down your houses, oblige you to be on your guard night and day. Alarms spread from town to town. Families were broken up. The tender mother would cry, "Oh, my son is among them. What shall I do for my child?" Some were taken captive. Children taken out of their schools and carried away. How dreadful was this? Our distress was so great that we should have been glad to snatch at anything that looks like a government. Now, Mr. President, when I saw this Constitution, I found that it was a cure for these disorders. I got a copy of it, and I read it over and over. I did not go to any lawyer to ask his opinion. We have no lawyer in our town, and we do well enough without. My honorable daddy there, pointing to Mr. Singletary, won't think that I expect to be a congressman and swallow up the liberties of the people. I never had any posts, and nor do I want one. But I don't think the worse of the Constitution because lawyers and men of learning and moneyed men are fond of it. I am not of such a jealous make. They that are honest men themselves are not apt to suspect other people. Brother farmers, let us suppose a case now. Suppose you had 50 acres, and your title was disputed, and there was, say, a farm of 50 acres joined to you that belonged to a man of learning, and his title involved the same difficulty. Would you not be glad to have him for your friend rather than stand alone in the dispute? Well, the case is the same. These lawyers, these moneyed men, these men of learning are all embarked in the same cause with us, and we must sink or swim together. Shall we throw the Constitution overboard because it does not please us all alike? Suppose 2 or 3 of you had been at the pains to break up a piece of rough land and sow it with wheat. Would you let it lie waste because you could not agree on what sort of fence to make? Would it not be better to put up a fence that did not please everyone's fancy, rather than keep disputing about it until the wild beasts came in and devoured the crop? Some gentlemen say, "Don't be in a hurry, take time to consider." I say, there is a time to sow and there is a time to reap. We sowed our seed when we sent men to the Federal Convention. Now is the time to reap the fruit of our labor. And if we don't do it now, I'm afraid we shall never have another opportunity. There spoke the common sense of the common man of the commonwealth. The counsel of the farmer from the country joined with the resolutions of the working men from the city, carried the convention, and the Constitution was ratified. In the light of succeeding history, who shall say that it was not the voice of the people speaking with the voice of infinite authority?